None of your business? None of my business. My name is Undercover, FBI agent. I never met the defendant before this auction. There's no connection between me and her. Oh, there's the judgment music. Oh, I love this music. I first heard of Dr. Lee when it became relevant for my job. He was already dead by then. Mrs. Holden was someone I interacted with during the last few years. It was purely professional. And the security guard was a good customer and buddy of mine. I got no motive to kill or frame any of them. What reason could I have to go to that much trouble? Okay. If you put it that way, it does seem like you have little reason to do this. Thanks for getting it. I'm a mere innocent bystander. Well, innocent enough. All this is assuming you're really Mr. Kova. That's still very much in dispute. Leah, please, according to you, I'm just some rando you happen upon. Isn't that dentist located in a totally different city? You'd have even worse of a case. While monsters like Dr. Leet exist, most people don't just do horrible things to strangers for no reason. You will have to establish at least a potential motive if you want to move forward with this accusation. And please save any points of contention for the cross-examination. Very well. Let's proceed to that immediately, then. I'm over this guy. What's his problem? Please, just tell me I'm actually onto something this time. This is our man, right? He's got to be. Well, I'll give you my take. Everything that dude just said is a total BS. Thanks. I figured, but it's good to have your blessing. I know what I have to do, then. Yeah, let's get him. I finally revealed your face. Now it's time to expose all of your crimes. There's no way I'd let you get away after everything you've put me through today. Boy howdy, it has been a lot. How come you're wearing an entire second set of clothes under your disguise? Strikes me as a bit impractical. It's almost like you didn't have time to properly change. I like it this way. You gotta be prepared in case your main disguise ever gets compromised. Besides, it's cold outside. So where's your way to verify that you're really who you say you are? I can show you my badge if you want. Not good enough. You could have stolen that. I'm gonna need a proper ID with a photo before I consider accepting this. Too bad. I'd be foolish to have that on me during an undercover job. You'll just have to take my word for it. How about we call the FBI and see what they have to say about you? How exactly do you expect that to play out? Hello, could I ask for you if this guy here is actually an undercover agent? Yeah, I'm sure they won't have any qualms about handing out sensitive info like that. Okay, point taken. Let's go the other road then. Let's call the dentist I mentioned and have her confirm that she doesn't know you. Oh, absolutely. You're perfectly free to do that. We'll just have to wrap up this trial first. Bad reception in this place, I hear. You've got to be kidding me. Could there really be no way to confirm his identity while we're trapped in this place? Never met the defendant. You think you just lied to my face like that? I literally remember seeing you at the dentist's office. Who's a liar here, liar? I know you're desperate, but you shouldn't make up stories like that. Besides, even if that were true, that'd be like, what, one encounter? You'll have to single phone call to schedule. That's not much more than passing a stranger on the street. I don't want to have your self-image if you think that's enough to make people want to murder you. I'm obviously not claiming you didn't know me. Clearly this would have been planned far in advance. Heck, you might only have taken the job so you'd be able to set me up. This is conspiracy-level paranoia. You might want to let a professional take a look at that. Here, I've got some antipsychotics if you need them. Thanks, but no thanks. And stop trying to gaslight me, it won't work. The reason I got myself a gun in the first place was because I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched constantly. That was all you're doing, wasn't it? You were stalking me. And a narcissism, too. It's really not looking good, liar. It's almost like you think you're the protagonist here. Newsflash, life doesn't just revolve around you. At the end of the day, I've made decisions in life that likely made me some enemies. I also don't think it's a coincidence things were set up to happen here, of all places. There's something, or rather someone, tying all of these things together. I see. Now you think it all comes back to that madman somehow. There's some connection between him and me. Fortunately, I never met him. This is gonna be the link. We call it Dr. Lee and worked for the Secret Service for a time. Now you saying that being a government worker is enough to tie me to him. That's a totally different law enforcement agency. We got lots of them, if you don't know. The wonders of big government. Well, I know he's just lying about being a federal agent anyway. Fine. Let's hear your story then. When did you first hear of Dr. Lee? Do the math. You were pretty much figured it out earlier, no? I'm forced to admit it now, it seems. I was dispatched here to make sure any misappropriated weapon stayed hush-hush. The briefing must have been about 4 years ago, give or take some months. A little after your article dropped. And what did you think of him? There's only one take here. If you don't think he's terrible, you just straight up have wrong opinions. And if I wanted to get cancelled and called him dope, it was kind of too late to care much for him. Not that easy to build much of an emotional connection with people that are already dead. Hopefully dead. Hard to deny that. But even then, you could have met one of his still living associates and still gotten involved. Well, there's Mrs. Holden. Because, you know, she's an actual victim here. I should have a motive for that, at least. Of course, we know you're the one who shot her anyways. Still would have made sense for me to want to murder her, though. And that professional relationship wasn't full of conflict. It hardly seems like she was on good terms with the government. If you were forced to keep tabs on this place for years... Oh, don't let that give you the wrong impression. We've reached an understanding with Mrs. Holden. She keeps our business confidential, and we stay out of hers. It was all peachy, me being there was mere caution to make sure she kept her end of the deal. I'm appalled to hear about these kinds of agreements being made by our government. I know, the government. Corrupt? Extremely shocking. Gotta cut us some slack, though. Sometimes tough sacrifices have to be made for the sake of internal security. And you're sure Mrs. Holden wasn't one of the necessary sacrifices? Even if you had some sort of deal, this whole auction must have been completely against your interests. You got me there. I won't deny there were some rocky patches in our relationship. Let me tell you, though, if we needed her eliminated, we'd choose a better way to do it. Of course, this is purely theoretical. Not like the FBI would ever murder its own citizens, right? And how would you have done it differently, exactly? Well, most importantly, there's no benefit in turning the thing into a huge homicide case. Just have it be an accident or illness, geez. It certainly wouldn't make sense to frame someone for it. Especially not a random journalist who might raise a huge ruckus with the press. He sadly got a point. Might make some sense for the government to get rid of Mrs. Holden. There's no reason for them to involve me. Well, that's not he's not even Mr. Cobra in the first place. The real connection has to be something else. Yeah, honestly. You've got some gall to call him your buddy after brutally murdering him. Whoa, it's this witness intimidation. Please stop, I'm gonna have an anxiety attack. Miss Chase, please control yourself. Apologies, I'm trying. By the way, I'm not gonna be sold for a fool here. Mr. Garnett's murder obviously wasn't premeditated. There was no way to predict that situation. He simply caught you in a compromising moment and you had no choice but to kill him. You're entitled to your own opinion. Going to have to respectfully disagree with the part where I murdered him. This isn't gonna work without proof. There won't be any meaningful motive to point out for Mr. Guard. Unless I can establish that he did in fact kill him, there's no way to attack this claim. You say that, but we haven't had any opportunity to actually look into you. You could be Mr. Kova, you could also be literally anyone. I can tell you my entire life story if you really want to hear it. Gotta warn you though, it's boring at best and otherwise just severely depressing. Anything you say is meaningless because we can't verify it. Unless you got any documents on you to prove your claims. Ah, check your standards. This ain't even a stop and identify state. At the end of the day, the burden of proof is on you, defendant. Of course it is. There has to be some way to close in on the real identity of this man. Otherwise I just won't be able to establish a motive here. This whole testimony is just one giant pile of lies. Question is there any part we can actually prove wrong? It feels like there's really only two approaches. Why can't it ever be just one approach? Okay, let's hear them. The first one is to prove this guy's an imposter. Yeah, I guess that would make him look questionable enough to almost book him right away. This approach might be a pain, though. Don't really have much info about the real Kova. As you'd expect, since he was making up his own identity as well. So approach number 2. Just show he has some actual connection to both the victims and you. Not that simple either. We still have no idea who this man actually is. There's only so many things that connect all this together. That might narrow it down. True, there's only so many options. I'm not sure I like any of them, though. Man, it's frustrating to know he's lying, but have no clue how to prove it. Come to think of it, would he have been lying in his previous testimony, too? How come he didn't say anything back then? Because I talked to the real Mr. Kova earlier, and he was fine. How was I supposed to know he was a different person now? That totally threw off my read. Even your crazy intuition can only take you that far, it seems. This case is so crazy, it has defeated Lillian's crazy intuition. Incredible. Still, you could have at least let me know something was off about him. If you want to have a talk about withholding important info from each other, I'm up for it. Got a couple things to get off my chest as well, there. Okay, forget what I said. I think I'm good for now. No way I'm winning that one. Oh. Let's see if we can. I feel like something that's going to become relevant is... You see that guy in the background there? Like some random dude in his suit. I wonder if that could possibly be what we need here. Can we just present it here? False. What you say is blatant. Oh, is blatantly contradicted by this. What? Must be awfully proud of that newspaper. How many more times do you intend to mindlessly present it? I must agree. It's starting to rival the time that one attorney simply couldn't keep quiet about his badge. Is it my fault that it's relevant to this often? There's categorically nothing of relevance left on the page. We've been subjected to it often enough by now. Guess I'll just show you. This part here directly contradicts the witness's statement. We'll point to dude? Okay. Stop scaring me then. You've never met Dr. Lead. I'm not buying it. I've got the proof right here that shows you're a shameless liar, Mr. Notkova. Wait, that's... Oh, he reacted. This is an article about Dr. Lead. How does the witness fit into this? He fits into this in the most straightforward way possible. Let's take a look, shall we? In a way, you've been with us since the very beginning, haven't you? Because unless my eyes are deceiving me... That's you right here in the photograph! Oh, that zoom really does a number on it. Stay calm and listen, I can explain this. This explanation better be good. You said you've never even met Dr. Lee, but this blatantly shows you two being in the same room. Forgot about that. Fine. I admit I sort of met him there, okay? It's because he was working as a profiler for the Secret Service. He was considered kind of remarkable. Even other agencies sometimes sent people to take some lessons from him. I was the one to attend that event. A It's a sole story here. I call nonsense. Think about your position in this photo. You're not even part of the audience. You're observing him from behind the stage. It suggests you were working much more closely with him than someone who just came over to listen once. Really now? Then what kind of relationship does this imply? Come out and say it if you think you know. Dr. Lead wouldn't just have let anyone lurk around behind his back like this. He had way too many secrets to worry about. Would have to have been someone he trusted. There's only one way to explain this. You're... his boss, his subordinate, his murderer. The obvious answer here is subordinate. The way he's standing in the back with crossed arms, isn't it almost like a bodyguard? The impression I get from this is that he's someone working for Dr. Lead here. He's even wearing similar glasses to the ones that man liked to wear. Oh, that's where we're going with this, huh? A bodyguard? But Dr. Lead was a murderer himself. Would it have been too risky to keep someone that close to him? It'd be highly likely they'd find out about his activities. Oh, they'd be bound to find out, all right? But if they're already fully aware of what's going on, that wouldn't be a problem. Well, I suppose. Wait, that would make him an accessory. Dr. Lead was part of a criminal organization called the JP Corporation. He was undoubtedly an important member and likely had some others working under him. We get what you're implying. Just come out and say it then. I'm naturally saying that you were one of those underlings. You are part of the JP Corporation. There it is. And what rational reason would that give him to do any of this? Revenge, of course. Might not have killed Dr. Lee, but I still exposed him with my article. JP stands for judgment and purity. Particularly the judgment part is important here. It's like that even he has no idea what really happened to Dr. Lead. And couldn't pass judgment on whoever is responsible. Even if Lead was gone, I still smeared his good name. Ill-deserved as it was. Not only that, I had previously worked for him, making me effectively a traitor. So we decided to set up this trap to punish me instead. I can't speak for why exactly Mrs. Holden got involved, but she was connected to Dr. Lead via this tower. It's possible she did something perceived as betrayal as well. That's the true motivation behind this elaborate murder plot. Are you gonna laugh? Well, isn't that just dandy? The great Aurelia Chase became a poor victim to the vicious blood of the evil organization. What can I say? But be careful, because... Oh! Uh-oh, glasses. You might pull a muscle with that reach. Oh boy. Those glasses. I know, pretty neat. Courtesy of your father. May he rest in pieces. Bye. Well, goddamn. It really is like that, then. It's a secondary witness. Her father. Thought she's a stranger to you. Sorry, that was just a little dramatic joke to process this. I know, I should. Never met Lia's daddy. Not her real one, at least. Uh-oh. So that's how you're going to play this. You want me to know, but nobody else. You want to keep denying it? Fine. If you want to make things difficult, I'll just have to start getting serious. By all means, start using some parts of your brain. People these days have been dumbed down so much already. Everything has to be fed to them the simplest way possible. Quantum mechanics reduced to Schrodinger's cat. Ethics reduced to the trolley problem. What times we live in. Whoops, pardon the Joker moment. How do you intend to make progress, Miss Chase? It seemed to be very hard to prove whether his story or yours is true. As long as we're trapped here, our options are limited. I'm not sure how to feel about this. It's true, there probably isn't any way to prove this man's true identity here. I don't necessarily intend to do that. What we might be able to prove is that he's not the same Mr. Kova we talked to earlier. At the very least, that would show that whoever he is impersonating someone else. You had all the chances to do that in my testimony earlier. I wonder why you didn't. This isn't proof I have on me yet. However, I know of something that will help us produce the proof we need. None of your asinine checks. How surprising. The only good move for you would be presenting the, according to you, real Mr. Kova. Presenting the real Mr. Kova. Alright. Take that. Go check the secret room. If you find a dead fucking body, there you go, Victoria. And you're decidedly incapable of that, because we can't leave this fucking courtroom, you fucking rude. This seems like quite a tall task indeed, defendant. This music is really fucking loud. No, we don't necessarily have to find him. It'd be a way to find proof this man is an imposter if we use this. Fingerprint. Analytic feeds. Can we use Hunt? It's possible to use our detective's tools to find the proof. That makes some sense. This is the best forensic equipment we have at hand. What would you be looking for exactly? You can tell this man is impersonating Mr. Kova by checking for DNA and fingerprints. Go ahead, I always want to get sampled. And we can compare it to, oh, anybody happen to have brought their database? This might be a bit of a toughie otherwise. Not any existing DNA or prints from Mr. Kova to compare it to. This won't tell us much. We really have something like that. What could Kova have touched? Uh-oh, this better be really solid, liar. Because if it can be disputed at all, you bet I'm gonna file a complaint. I won't even look for prints or DNA that are definitely Mr. Kova's. Maybe I don't actually have to? There might be another angle to this. This whole disguise was something the culprit got forced into after committing the murders. He needs to get back to the scene. He needed to get back to the scene quickly. I mean, the disguise was put on in a hurry. I'd give you the opening I need. A single set of prints isn't really enough. You'd have a second set to compare it to. Something else that was touched by the real Mr. Kova recently, but not this man. You should consider the bigger picture once more. Recap. Alright. Leading Mr. Garn's to the justice room. Then left. Mr. Garn turned back. Killed by a suspect who then got spotted by Mr. Kova in the hallway. Outran and ambushed Mr. Kova in a secret room behind the shelves. Stole Mr. Kova's disguise, returned to the scene, posing as him. Using his testimony, he was able to give it a fake alibi. But the true form concealed. Couldn't have had much time to come up with that. No way you could have fully erased all Mr. Kova's traces. Okay, so this is actually a solid. Lower floor is off limits. Anything else? Without Mr. Garn, and unbeknownst to them, Mr. Kova, Dr. Hellinger was the one to fetch me for the trial. Okay, so it's the same recap, but modified with the knowledge we have picked up since. I think she performed the head count as well. Mr. Garn's good old key. Yep, this is definitely modified. What do we have that he might have touched? Now it's a fake name. Something with the building we can check to establish. Maybe it's not the same Mr. Kova we talked to earlier. Check you. Kova tried to solve the cube. Is it the cube? Alright. I think we don't need to go any... I think we don't need to go any further here. Alright. Not in the evidence. They're not in the court record. Why, that's not the first time, I suppose. We shouldn't be subjected to any more of your stalling and ambiguity. Victoria, look at this guy! And put this shit to the side. If you think you have a more intelligent answer than the court record, spell it out. You think better back down. You haven't been paying attention. Yeah, right. These two objects we'll find. What? One of them is the cube. The other is... Fuck, I should have stayed and did the recap. Cube. Alright, hang on. Oh. Matching fingerprints to the real... Oh, 2 sets of fingerprints. I wonder if we are... The cube, the Rubik's Cube is definitely one of them. We need a second set. Let's just say the tray. Let's put an end to this charade. Mr. Kova always carried the tray with his refreshments. Given how desperate this whole impersonation stunt is, I bet you didn't even have time to wipe all of it clean. Have it be checked for prints and we'll have our answer. Well, what are the results, Dr. Hellinger? I can say one thing without conjecture. There are several prints of this witness on the bottom of the tray. Additionally, I found several unknown prints of at least one other person. And there you have it, the prints of the real Mr. Kova. Amazing proof. Absolutely outstanding life. Can't argue with this one, folks. The jig is up. After all, no one else would ever want to interact with me, let alone touch my stuff. Yeah, I figured you'd try that. These prints could be any random customers. That's the obvious excuse to make. Therefore, Dr. Hellinger, did you check the other thing I told you about? It was indeed the case, just as you posited.
Objection.
A smile. What do you presume you're doing? You conspired with Aurelia, and you dared to do it behind my back. The request was objectively reasonable. It's in our interest to clarify this point, incorrect? Employ your brain instead of machines for once. Employ your brain instead of your ego for once, Victoria. Nothing suggested by Aurelia could ever be intelligent or in our interest. What is this about, Detective? The defendant asked me to analyze the prints on another item for comparison. Her reasons made a lot of sense. It appears she is capable of prudence after all. This cube is what required analysis. I see. Actually, I have no idea how this is relevant. I think it's more efficient if she explains it herself, but... There are prints on this cube that match the unknown prints on the tray. Much appreciated. I'll take it from here. This Rubik's Cube is one of the items from the display room. Not something just anyone should be able to touch. And Mr. Kova was spotted fiddling with this cube while we got ready for the trip to the lower floor. If those unknown prints on the tray and the cube belonged to Mr. Kova, then those should have been your prints. Nice trick. You're still gonna keep this up. How do you know this so-called male Mr. Kova touched this cuboid again? You said he was spotted, but who actually saw him doing so? How about you share that with us? It was Lillian and Mr. Garn. Mr. Poley was also present, hidden behind the curtain. Wasn't that just dandy? Got quite the lineup there. Suppose we can't really trust Lillian since she's another suspect. But hey, still got 2 others. Except Mr. Poley wouldn't see much if he stayed hidden behind the curtain. Fine, that still leaves one unbiased witness, namely... Oh, rip. Doesn't really erase the fact that the prints on the cube match the prints on your tray. You're not seriously saying some random person happened to touch both. We can compare the prints of everyone here if you want. I'm confident none of them will be a match. The person those prints belong to couldn't have left this floor. Unless they were one of the people that went to the lower floor and didn't come back. Why do I feel like I'm getting manipulated? Good. Oh, because you're trying to make it sound like those prints had to have been planted today. Ooh, almost had me there, Lion. You're turning this into some Sherlock versus Moriarty shit. Can you be clear what your argument is? That seems too unlikely a coincidence. What are the odds that Miss Chase would correctly point to an object with prints matching the tray? He clearly must have known the person who touched both, and that could only have been Mr. Kova. Yeah, that's what she'd like you to believe. But what if this was all planned? I'd say she hired someone. Let's call him Accomplice A. Oh my god, he's gonna start spitting bullshit worse than us. First dude visits the tower and gets touchy with the cube. Remember, this could have happened at any time before the place got locked down. And this A just happened to get grabby with my stuff before the auction to leave matching prints there. Also, she could expose me when the time was right. There's no way to tell how old those prints are. Oof, that's certainly a theory. You're saying I predicted the course of this entire trial in advance. Who do you take me for? Now you're just being a hypocrite. You said I'd join a dental clinic simply to plant a key. Then predicted this would somehow frame you the next day. You get to characterize me as Batman with prep time. It's only fair I do the same to you. Let's be fair. There's predicting everything, then there's simply setting some things up as contingencies. You asked for it. You so desperately want me to be someone that's always a step ahead, then I'll be just that. That's not the reaction I was expecting. You want to say these prints were placed in advance? That's straight up not possible. As it happens, I myself solved this puzzle cube earlier today. You are hopefully not anticipating anybody to be impressed. Shut up. I could easily solve a puzzle myself, not that I would bother with such a mundane exercise. My IQ is too big, your ego is beside the point. The key here is that I have to hold it in order to do so. Dr. Hellinger, tell me whether my fingerprints were present on the cube as well. And you're correct. I found yours below the unknown prints. They're the only other set present. Perfect. It's good those didn't get smudged. I don't get it. What do your prints have to do with this? Didn't you hear the detective? He said my prints were found below the others. You could use a forensic technique that recognizes how prints are layered on top of each other. That way you can figure out for a fact which prints were placed first. Well, that means you were the first. Bingo. Now the question is, when could I have placed those prints? Visitor logs will show that I never visited this tower before today. I couldn't have visited that room before Mrs. Holden's murder. Lewis Garth reported everything Miss Chase touched during the investigation to us. He did mention the cube. Stop volunteering information! This is nothing more than a hearsay! Take or leave that testimony, you still can't logically escape the facts. First with the unknown prince touched that cube after we got trapped inside the tower. And now that person is gone. There's only one way to explain this. That person was the real Mr. Kova, who you're impersonating. I'm not. I don't know how it got you into your head that you'd get away with this ridiculous impersonation stunt. Did you seriously think you'd pull this off when you didn't even wipe his prints properly? I can explain this. Trust. Is this going to be another far-fetched explanation about how Miss Chase predicted everything? Enough is enough. There's only one thing I want to know right now. As the one who summoned him to the stand, allow me to be the one to ask. Witness! Please state your name and occupation for this court. Please stop harassing me. I'm just a little guy, a little birthday boy. I know everybody hates me, but normally people at least have the decency to pretend. Are you going to start being honest or not? Always have been. Everything I said so far was technically correct. I know whenever somebody says technically, it usually means not at all, but we will listen. Go ahead and explain yourself. Oh boy. Oops, sorry. The second, Mr. Kova. What is this? You got me. Kinda. My real name is Joseph Black, but I'm also Mr. Kova. And a Kova is a fake identity shared by two people. My partner and I took turns assuming the role. We swapped before the trip downstairs. He wanted to check the hole in the window. Uh-oh. I can't prove that, but it's not like you can show that this other Kova ever was on the lower floor. Speaking of proof, you've got zero that I shot Mr. Garn. Wasn't even at the scene when he died. There's no secret room, nor a second shelf. Prove me wrong if you can. Gotta be kidding. Well, there's nothing that immediately makes this story impossible, but, why did you just tell us the proper situation at the start? Nothing more than a bit of harmless wordplay, if you think about it. How relevant is it really that there was another one? Besides, it seemed funnier to let Laya work for that mystery. Funnier? You never take anything seriously, do you? Don't take that from me. It's one of my few endearing qualities. I suppose it's your cross-examination, Miss Chase. Yo. He's still lying. Never would have guessed. That was awesome, though. You almost had him with those prints. Please don't get too hyped. I've got enough pressure to handle as is. I thought proving he's an imposter would be enough, but he's still weaseled himself out again. Yeah, he shouldn't get to do that. Speaking of, dude keeps calling you Laya. What's up with that? He's just trying to go a rise out of me. Best to ignore it. You know, I wouldn't mind giving you a nickname, though. Those were the 3 letters you had in common with me. Well, too bad. That one's ruined forever now. About Aurelia, then. Pass. Ow? Ow, ow. Hard pass. And this isn't the time for this. Sorry about that. Oh, Ari. Okay, that one's kind of cute. I'm leaving. Gave me more mental damage than this guy ever could. It's time to tear his story apart. Just one more push should be enough. Alright. I'm going to go on a limb and say that's still not your real name. I find your lack of faith depressing. Why should we trust you after you already changed your story once? Nothing was changed. Let's be real here. You pretty much already knew Mr. Kova was just my undercover identity. Could I have been more straightforward about that? Absolutely. I'll give that to you. At the end of the day, what does it really matter? I'm not a suspect here. You're very much a suspect. The whole point is that you replaced the real Mr. Kova. See, that did happen, but it's a clickbait alert, and not what you think it is. It's actually pretty dumb. But that's just my life, I guess. And, ready? Really now? What would have been the point of that? Budgeting. We only had enough funds for one fake identity. You expect me to buy that the FBI can't have their agents afford 2 costumes? If you've been paying attention, then you'd know there's been a lot of pressure to defund us lately. Well, this did result in some budget cuts. Even that costume was just a leftover from the Cold War era. I hate how that actually sounds like it explains a lot. Still, there's no reason for you to share that outfit. Couldn't this all have been left to just one person? Appalling, Leah. You must be one of those people who watch others do the work and claim credit. I wasn't just gonna let my partner do everything. Gotta at least appear to be a mostly responsible adult. What's the name of your partner? Francis Bob Ingram. Right, well, here's what's really going on. His partner was the real Mr. Kova, and you killed him. Because you don't agree with my opinion doesn't mean you can say I'm not an OG Kova as well. It's not very tolerant of you. It's also, like, a fallacy. No true Scotsman. You cannot exclude this witness from being Mr. Kova only because you consider him obnoxious. Yeah. If such a thing was permitted, I would have a never-ending list of charlatans to banish. Ha! I'm pretty sure that's not how that works, but whatever. You're going to say that you didn't kill the other Mr. Kova, then what happened to him? Alright. Come on, you're saying he fell out of the window. Well, he apparently left this floor somehow, and that's the only other way to go. Can't know for sure until we retrieve his body from the sea. How would something like that happen? Wish I knew, Your Honor. I'm as clueless as the rest of you, if not more. You never really struck me as a clumsy guy. Man could keep that tray steady while running, even. We may have to consider that this wasn't an accident, but deliberate. Gotta admit, we screwed up a lot. People kept dying because we were unable to collect all those dangerous weapons. Those deaths weighed on his mind. It's possible the added stress of the situation made him decide to put an end. Oh, God. Suicide? Yeah, no chance. I agree this was deliberate, but the responsible party is still very much alive and breathing. Fine, guess I'll just stop breathing then. Been planning to quit that for a while, anyway. Oh, God. He's worse than a mastermind. He's a Redditor. Witness, do you have anything to back up this version of events? Other Kova was on the lower floor. What of you to assume your claim is still in any way equal to mine? That's how it works in court. Last time I checked, you need evidence to support a claim. Where'd you get your law degree again? Oh wait, my bad. It sounded like you're trying to sue me, so I figured you'd have one. Which is I don't appreciate the behavior of this witness. Evidence does matter. We have testimony placing Mr. Kova on the lower floor, but none of it can show who was under the disguise at the time. Didn't I prove enough? This guy really will never concede anything more than he has to. So if I did have proof showing Mr. Kova visited the lower floor, you'd be immediately screwed. Hey, I love getting screwed as much as the next guy. Sadly, life's not a bed of roses. Is there really nothing? Better go through all the possible places downstairs that may hold clues again. Maybe there's a specific place that does hold proof? Let's press further. Isn't there a place you're forgetting about? Oh, jog my memory. What about... Okay, we should just pick a room. Let me check my notes here. Beneficence. What about beneficence? What about it? But it said applies to all the places on the lower floor. That part is no exception. Without your testimony, please. Oh, is it time for you especially? The Leah straw grasping crisis is upon us, folks. How many statements is it going to be this time, I wonder? It's clear either you or the other Mr. Kova visited that location. Please do what the defendant says and add it to your testimony. Okay, sure. I hope I can remember all these statements when she's done. Seems like exposing him this much has earned me at least some points back with the judge. Yay! I love that. There's a very real chance Mr. Koba left some prints in that place. We checked it again, all of this could... Nuh-uh, gotta stop you right there. That room already swept once. There's no reason to do it again. I'm sure our hair-splitting detective would have mentioned if she had found those. Well, she wasn't specifically looking for that. I was trying to rule out an extra person. Of course she would have looked for prints. That's surprising she didn't find any of mine. I had half my hands full carrying my tray. Maybe he's right. Is there really anything downstairs I know for a fact Mr. Koba touched? We'll swap. Hallway. You claim that there are no traces there. Same situation no matter where I go, liar. Alright. We're gonna say no. We'll keep this. I'll keep it for a while longer. I might still think it does think of something. I think we have to present the shelf here. Excuse me for having had my hands full disposing of your alibi and exposing your identity first. No, I don't think I will. You wouldn't have taken this long and tedious route if you had such proof handy. You're a smart, competent woman after all, no? Well, there's a few things we didn't know back when we first gave your testimony. Oh yeah, that's absolutely a reason to not leave with direct proof of me being a criminal. No way we could have sorted that culprit first and then worried about alibis and all that jazz. Check the court record lately. Still got some exactly the same stuff in it you had back then. We have no new evidence since the time he first testified. Love or hate him. The civic wording, love or hate him, he's spitting facts. This is bait. I don't remember there technically being any new evidence since then. Guess that much is true. Is that all you wanted to say? No secret room, no second shelf. We'd just be allowed to check the lower floor one more time. Decidedly not. We've wasted ample precious time on your investigation demands. One time was evidently too many already. What resulted in were delays and death. You can keep this guy and Lillian up here. What could possibly go wrong then? That probably just tripped a flag. Without the plaintiff's help, we'll have to work with what we can discover on this floor. How very wonderful. Because we'll waste less time that way, of course. Definitely not because it helps me from not getting busted. How aggravating. The obvious thing to confirm we just can't. There's really no other way to prove the layout of the second floor is what I claim. No more nicknames for now, promise. Just give me your thoughts on this testimony. Well, he actually thinks this will work because you've got no real evidence against him. This would be a lot easier if we could check the crime scene again. If there is no secret room, I'm a liar. If there is, then I'm the one with the alibi thanks to the kid. I might have to accept we can't prove that. Confirming my timeline is what happened several times. Confirming that my timeline is what happened seems like the best shot. What other way is there? Plain old proof tying him to the murder, obviously. You know, like his fingerprints on the gun, or him leaving a cigarette on the scene. Well, he probably wore gloves. And he clearly wouldn't do anything that careless. If there's nothing obvious, we just have to keep up the pressure. This punk sure is careful, but this murder was unplanned. There could be a weak spot somewhere. Something to directly tie him to the murder. This will be worth looking over my evidence again. There's no sign that Kova opened the door to justice, which would have been the key. I feel like the prompt is to find something that he touched, and I'll need to think on that. just for the lulz, let's... Oh shit, I did it again. Bollocks. Dispute. None of all the revelations were added to the court record. There's no way that's right. It's decidedly accurate, because those presumptuous revelations only exist in your fantasy. Unverified secret runes belong in subpar mystery novels, not the court record. Key? This is relatively new, right? Why'd you dig that up? All the way back on disc 1? False. And this penalty. Sorry, Your Honor. He's starting to get to me. I should think about this more carefully. Maybe that is bait. All right. Oh, good. Wait. Oh, no. Dispute. Piece of information, that's the key. It is in fact your profile. This is the new piece of evidence, piece of information, your true appearance. Absolutely outstanding. What a game-changing piece of information. I'm glad we can all agree that my appearance is a net positive. Mock it all you want, it demonstrably changed things. Take the newspaper. The photo was meaningless until your face gave it relevance. Ah, got me there. Guess you could now present the photo that clearly shows me shooting Mr. Garn. The time of the murder, the culprit couldn't have been wearing Mr. Cove's disguise yet. If there's any proof, he would have left it while wearing that outfit of yours. Oh crap, did I miss a blood stain? Ooh, doesn't look like it. Want to check my back to make sure? Get you to have made sure to destroy any obvious traces like that, even if you were in a rush. You'd probably be smart enough to do at least that, yeah. Which means your whole point is useless either way. I think that my fresh look could be linked back to poor Mr. Garn's murder. Updated. Hang on. Reveal. Inside the extendable parts, baton, small ink stain. Point to your pens? My pens? What, did I leave a written confession at the scene or something? If I was that eager to get caught, we wouldn't be doing this. Point is, your pens may be the connection to Mr. Garn's murder we're looking for. Written confession. You might as well call it that. This is gonna be something, isn't it? To see how you're gonna make a fool of yourself this time. Kinda get why Mr. Nealon called this prime entertainment. Wonder how much longer you'll find this one amusing. There's still a trace left at the crime scene we weren't able to connect to anything so far. Namely, the uncanny traces on the expandable baton underneath him. There was blood on the inside, if I recall correctly. Yes, the victim's own blood, mixed with some ink. Oh, shit. The fact that it's mixed together with the blood proves it gone there at the time of the murder. It couldn't have gotten there at some later point. Mr. Garn was the last person to close it. Must have understood the importance of that clue and protected it with his last breath. Because this ink came straight from one of that killer's pens. That's more conjecture. You cannot prove the origin of that ink. But Hellinger told me something interesting earlier. It seems not all ink is made equal. It can be analyzed to compare, not entirely unlike DNA. Oh my god, that's becoming relevant. I'd say we have sufficient grounds to do just that. I won't allow it. Your opinion doesn't matter. Cute, but it's not really up to you. You won't allow Dr. Hellinger to perform this simple, relevant analysis. I have given the plaintiff a lot of leeway, but you cannot completely refuse any discovery. If you want to win this trial fairly, that is. Ooh, boy. Then you're really talking to the wrong person. This girl needs absolutely any handicap she can set up. Aurelia, the judge is on your side. No need to rub it in. Fascinating. Now even I am beginning to get perplexed by your level of incompetence. Must protect my precious mind. Do what you want. It is unfortunately your right to be this brainless. Good! Well then, please surrender your pens, Mr. Black. I'd rather not. I know my rights. The Fourth Amendment means you need my consent. Not when there's probable cause, of which we have plenty. Okay, well... knock yourselves out then. Why are you grinning? Hello, Colleen. That was fast. Well, it's gotta be a match, no? I can't conclusively answer that in the affirmative. What? The ink isn't from any of those pens. I cannot state that either. Because it's not possible to perform the analysis you want me to. What? Is it Victoria's doing again? If so, I'm disappointed. I should be the one displeased. However, I know it's not easy for you to stop jumping to conclusions. The reason I didn't do anything is because there's no ink in the pens you gave me. I have no sample to compare my findings to. All 3 pens are empty? How can that be? Well, isn't that unlucky? Oh, God. Oh, my God. He was prepared for this. Your Honor, there's basically no question the witness emptied those pens himself. There's no way they'll naturally be left without even a trace of ink. Ah! I knew you'd say that. Hence my protest. Ask any office worker. There's never any functional pen when you need them. It happens. Well, as suspiciously convenient as this is, it's sadly not the conclusive proof it could have been. Please resume your cross-examination, Miss Chase. Must feel great, liar. Shut up. Being a step behind, that is. Deliciously frustrating. I guess it would have been too easy. This guy's no idiot. He was definitely watching the trial closely for anything that could be used against him. When Dr. Hellinger presented the autopsy report with the ink, he must have realized what it meant. There's to be another way to catch him. I can't let him get away with this. Huh. We're supposed to just accept that all 3 of your pens are empty. Budget is tied to the bureau. I never got around to replacing them. I burned through them pretty quickly. Pretty much got no motivation if I don't write out some half-assed affirmations daily. This freaking guy, though. It's actually frustrating. I was so close to get him for something. Can't we, like, find wherever he spilled the ink? It's gotta be somewhere. No chance. Must have overheard it all way back when he first discussed the murder. There's plenty of time for him to go to the bathroom and just empty his pens into the sink that way. There's really none of it left anywhere then. Sadly. Besides, even if we found another ink stain now, how would we prove it was from his pens? I can see the point, but we might have to look for another way to catch him. Alright. Now we gotta think on this again. And see where this gets us. And hopefully I can actually load my save without the game crashing. Wait, hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hang on. Signed by both Dr. Hellinger and Mr. Kova. Signed.
Objection!
Solid effort indeed. You almost got me to disregard this. You just can't leave me alone, it seems. I'll lend you my pens however often you like. There's nothing left to squeeze out of them, though. Your pens aren't really required anymore. We've already got proof of your guilt in black and white. Are you drunk? That statement literally spells out my alibi. I don't really care about what is spelled out here. It's noted that this affidavit was signed by both you and Dr. Hellinger. I don't really see the signatures. Anyone know where they are? They're on the back. The space on the front was insignificant. Insufficient. Interesting. Say, if you've only been carrying empty pens, you shouldn't have been able to sign this document. Seems like I'm right on the money this time. You didn't know about the ink at the crime scene yet. You signed this document without a care in the world. With your pens, which still had their ink at the time. And how would you logically conclude that to be the case? Could have been given a pen by someone else. That is very true. Shockingly. This affidavit was the first thing you made the witnesses sign when they returned from downstairs. Yeah. Have them sign an affidavit if they are allowed to do anything else. To add to that, the detective has a policy to have everyone always sign with their own pens. Interesting policy, but relevant for precisely this reason. Oh, precisely because it's possible to confirm the source of any ink, should it ever be necessary. She would have never allowed him to use anybody else's pen unless he could show he didn't have one. The signature of Andor Kovar on this affidavit is written in the same ink found at the scene. That conclusively makes you the murderer. That's not decisive. If it's a match, there must be similar ink for the same manufacturer out there. Who cares? Lillian certainly wasn't found with such a pen. Even if someone else here was a match, they'd all have an alibi that's much more solid than yours. There's no reasonable doubt left you could use to dispute the result. Whether this signature matches is of great significance. Dr. Hellinger, if you would. That won't be necessary. I have something objectively more relevant to report. What could possibly be more important than this right now? The existence of the secret room has been verified. Ah! That would essentially prove Miss Chase's entire theory. And that's a note to end on. That's a mic drop for the day.